Hello, everybody. 9:01 a.m. in Melbourne. It's Sandra from Inspired Keys, and I am very excited to answer some of your Worship Keys questions. And if you are in my email list, and if you're not, you should jump on board. Go to inspiredkeys.com/freebies to go sign up for a ton of freebies and also be in my email list. Basically, I sent out an email to all of my email list subscribers, and I said, guys, what are you struggling with? What are your questions on Worship Keys playing? And I got a lot of replies. And so I picked out some of the questions, and I'm going to be answering them over here. I have a question from Inspired Keys Academy member Bright Yuhu Corey. I really hope I got your name right. And I will answer that alongside some other questions as well. So Bright Yuhu Corey says, if I had all the time in the world, I would like to focus on practicing being able to play worshipful, meditative style music, mixing chords together. Firstly, so that I can use it to worship and love God myself. Secondly, so that wherever I find myself and a piano or keyboard, I can just play and let the Holy Spirit use my playing to touch and minister people. Okay, so Bright and all of you out there who feel like you really want to learn how to play meditatively and worshipfully, and that's a wonderful, wonderful thing to want to do. So first up, awesome, and kudos to you for wanting to do that, because that's the first step, right? I have pretty much 3 tips here. So tip number 1 is this. If you say that you want to play in a worshipful meditative style, it must be because you have heard someone play in a worshipful meditative style, right? Because we can't just like say, I want to play in rock music when you've never heard rock music before. You've got to hear it, you got to like it and go, ooh, that sounds good. I want to sound like that person. And then aspire to play in that style. So in the same way, we heard it before. And so this question goes out to you, Bright. Where have you heard worshipful meditative style of worship playing before? Because surely you must have heard it somewhere, and you want to play it in that way because it makes you feel a certain way. Maybe it makes you feel like you are open before God, and it's a very powerful moment, which is really awesome. I get it a lot when I listen to some of the Bethel worship moment videos, right? If you just go on YouTube and search like Bethel spontaneous, Bethel moments. Yeah, I think it's moments, or like, yeah, just spontaneous. They're so good at it, right? They just have all these, I love it. Sometimes on the way to church, and we just want to get ourselves ready for to open our hearts to worship, I just pick one of these YouTube videos and I just play them in the car. So it's very, very awesome to be able to play like that. So Bright, think about who you like. Maybe it's a particular YouTuber who plays in a certain way. Maybe it is a keyboardist from a particular recording that you, album that you've been listening to, or maybe it's from many years ago. Go find it, get a piece of paper, write it down. I could tell you a list of all the keyboardists that I like to listen to. And basically the next step is this. Once you have drawn your list of who your favorite keyboardists are because they make you feel awesome when you hear them, go listen to them like 24 hours a day, like really soak yourself in it. How good are you at listening to something and recording it in your brain? Because if you are good at it, then you just have to listen to it a little bit and then just kind of let that music play in your head. It is a bit of a skill, really. Like when I'm a piano teacher and I teach people how to sing little tunes. And it's pretty much all about training our brains to become like an audio recording device, right? You hear something, whether it's an advertisement on the TV or a jingle on the radio, and how good are you at hearing it again in your brain just on demand? Like, yeah, and you can just hear it. And it's a bit of a skill. So what I really would like you to do is go find those favorite recordings that you heard from wherever it is, go listen to them. And if you're not so good at recording stuff in your brain, that's okay. Just listen to it a lot. Because if you want to be able to play like someone, you got to be able to hear that person's music in your head. You got to be able to listen to it so much that it's like second nature. When you're playing on the piano, you actually hear that style in your head, and then you can multiply it, you can reproduce it, and you can play in that style. So you could call this homework, but if it's fun for you, like if you like listening to it, to that person's playing style, then it should be awesome. Like it should be heaven, like 24 hours, right? Play it on repeat. If you must, create a playlist and repeat that playlist, right? Guys, when I was 13, I was crazy about Alanis Morissette's Ironic. Yeah, it's crazy. I was 13, and I basically loved that track so much. I had it on CD. I put it onto my CD player because it was the year 1992 or something, like really, really long time ago. And I basically played that song on repeat. You know how you could press repeat one or repeat all or shuffle? Yep, I pressed repeat one. It was track number 13. I remember that. And I played it nonstop overnight. Like I didn't even plan for that to happen. I just fell asleep with that song on repeat. The next thing I knew, I woke up getting ready to go to school, and Ironic's still playing. I kind of just listened to it through the night, guys. So not that I'm asking you to do that, but it's trying to prove the point that I just got crazy about how a certain song sounds, and I got fanatical to the point where I just kind of listened to it nonstop. And if we all did that on our favorite keyboardist styles, right? Or if on our favorite music, whatever it is, it becomes more ingrained in us. And then it's also better and easier to reproduce it, to play it in that style. Because when you listen to music that's not just passively, but actively and analyzing and even memorizing, there's a lot of detail that goes into the music that we start taking note of, right? It's not just, okay, I know the lyrics of the text. I know the chord progression. I know the melody. I can play the song by ear. It's not even just that anymore, guys. You get into a deeper layer where you start hearing that tiny little gesture that happens between chords. Maybe it's the tone that changes at the end of a phrase. These are like nuances that you would probably only catch if you're crazy about something, to listen on repeat, and maybe not just listening from like the player or the speakers, but putting it into your ears with earphones and really analyzing every layer and every bit, every instrument. What's that instrument doing at that moment? Yeah. Those of us watching here, if we have music that we like and we want to be able to play in that style, how much analysis and how much memorizing have we done first, right? It's almost like this is something that needs to happen before we're able to reproduce it. Think about it another way. Like, why do some people speak with certain accents, right? It must be because they must have spent a significant amount of time hearing that accent. People must have spoken to that person in that accent long enough for that person to reproduce it and speak in that accent, right? Yeah, or maybe why do some people use words in a certain way? Well, they grew up in a culture where they use those words. It could be vulgarities, it could be bombastic terms, it could be speaking in a very gentlemanly way. I mean, there are all these cultural differences. Well, we reproduce what we grew up with or what we listen to a lot. And it's the same with music. It's like just learning how to have more musical vocabulary by listening to more vocabulary. So, Bright, I really hope this helped. This is just tip number 1. Go draw a list of all your favorite worshipful meditative styles. And you know what? It doesn't have to be in the entire track. Sometimes it could be just the 6-minute 31-second bit to 7 minutes 40, right? And just draw out that little segment within that song and play that part again and again and again and again. Like listen to it so much till you like, oh, you've kind of memorized it. You can hear it on your head. You can play it on demand in your brain, which is a bit dangerous, guys, especially if you're trying to fall asleep and then your brain starts to play uncontrollably. Trust me, I am a victim to that. I don't know if you are, put it into the chat and let me know that I'm not alone, because yeah, I struggle with that big time. Deviate a little bit, but after I come back from worship rehearsals and worship service, even though I'm physically exhausted, my brain is just playing the music on repeat. I just can't sleep. I don't know if it's just me, or maybe it's a worldwide thing, or maybe it's just certain people go crazy. Yeah, but go internalize the music. Okay, perhaps that's the real point. Okay, tip number 1. Tip number 2 is, because Bright says, so that I can just find a piano or a keyboard and just be able to play, right? Play and let the Holy Spirit use my playing to touch and minister to people. Okay, so second tip is this. Practice through your private worship. Yeah, sorry, it's nothing new under the sky, guys. When we want to learn something, when we want to acquire a skill, we just got to put in the time and do it. You can call the word practice. You can say do it. You can say play it. I mean, use any term you want, but you just got to do it. You can't just sit there and go, I wish I can play like that. And then, just kind of wish it. You got to do it at some point, right? And I think a great way to do it is, I mean, look, as Christians, we kind of should be doing quiet time, right? We kind of need to spend some time with God somehow. And I don't know how you do it, but I've met people who they have a little structure, like they worship God with the guitar, with one song, maybe 2, and then they read the word, and then they pray. And even in prayer, there's like a little structure. I will pray for my needs, and then I'll pray for my loved ones, and then I will pray for the nations, whatever it is. Have a little structure. See if you can infuse this into your daily routine with God. If it has always just been the Bible and prayer, see if you can insert 5 minutes of playing one song and then Bible and prayer. It doesn't have to take a lot of time, but I think the magic here is the repetition. If you do it every day, if you spend just 5 minutes with the Lord and you just pick a song, and get this, you got to pick a song that you really like, okay? Because that makes it fun, right? That makes it awesome. That makes the process of playing and singing awesome. Now, don't get disheartened if you don't sound good, because of course we're not going to sound good if you haven't really practiced. If you compare yourself to people like Amanda Cook, who can sing and play awesomely in thousands of people service, like in Bethel, and then you go like, oh, I'll never play like her. Well, think about how Amanda started, right? Everyone has a first time. If you've never actually put in the time to sit down and play, nobody's going to sound good if you just started. But I think this is the magic, right? You sit down and you are not playing to 1,000 people. You are playing for an audience of 1, who is God, who made you, who loves you, who is listening, and who is receiving your love that pours out from your heart. So if you're just there and you're like, God, I know I probably sound terrible, and I can't really do very much singing and playing, so I'm just going to play one chord, no accompaniment, no arpeggios, no licks and riffs, nothing, just chord and my voice, and just keep going. But God sees the heart, and he receives it, and he loves it. And you could even just do one song for the whole week and see how you develop over the 7 days, right? Because I think it's natural for us to like, hey, on Monday, I just did chord and sing. On Tuesday, I just did the same thing. I think on Wednesday, I'm going to start like adding one extra note and go like dum, 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 dum. And you just create a new piano accompaniment. And then you go like, oh, wow, I can do that. And by Friday, you're adding like 3 extra notes. By Sunday, you're like, I can do a whole arpeggio now, whatever it is. But guys, there is this thing that we want to do, right? We want to be able to practice, but not just for the sake of like getting our art right. I mean, that's important too, if it helps, if you're very analytical and you want to just sit down and spend half an hour every day and you just want to get one song done, do that. But I think something that's really nice is also to practice worshiping God in our private moments and just playing a song and play it for God. And that there is power in doing something for a short time, but every day, as opposed to doing it for a long time, like 30 minutes or an hour, but only once a week. So it depends on how you want to do it. But I will suggest doing the everyday thing because it's very powerful, guys. If it's not just doing it for the sake of art, right? I want to get my music right. I'm going to practice my technical scales and arpeggio. If it is also involved, like I am worshiping God at the same time, then you are actually practicing how to express your love to God through the language of music, which is powerful because if you get really good at that in your private moments, imagine what happens in the public moments, right? When you play and people are listening to you telling God how much you love Him. And there is just going to be a Holy Spirit interception in that moment, guys. Like, it's going to be so much more powerful than just a musician who is strong musically. This person's great. Yes, the person can play, but is the Holy Spirit going to do the magic between the playing and the listener's ears? I love how my senior pastor, Dale Stevenson from Crossway Baptist Church, and he said in one of the sermons that he just preaches. He just uses words and he just speaks in sentences like everyone does. But then there's just this magic that happens between the words of a person's mouth to the listener's ears. And that in between, like Holy Spirit doing something, making the listener cry, go on his knees, raise hands and recommit life to Jesus. I mean, that's power, right? That's Holy Spirit in between. And just like a speaker, just like a sermon, just like a pastor giving, doing an altar call, just like any of these moments, we are doing the same thing, guys. We play something, we're playing it for God, and then people hear it, people feel it, sense it. Holy Spirit comes in and does something in their hearts. So if you do step number 2 or tip number 2, which is to practice through your private worship, it's powerful. It's because it's not just about art, it's art and spiritual elements together. And Felipe Fenton, I hope I got your name right. Hi, I'm Felipe talking from Brazil. Gosh, hello. I hope I got your name right, or Philippe, probably Philippe. Welcome. Thank you. I know there's a few of us watching right now. If we could all just post in the chat and let me know what your name is and where you're from, and also your worship keys questions. I do want to pick at least one question to answer. So go ahead and type it in because I do want to reward your live participation. And don't wait till I go like, guys, now I'm done answering questions. Please put in your questions. Just type your question in there so that I can read it and start to think about the answers, right? So I'm answering questions. A question from Inspired Keys Academy member Bright, who says he wants to play in a worshipful and meditative style. Okay, so I actually have a third tip. My first tip was to imitate your favorite players. Sit down, internalize their music so that it becomes ingrained in you and infused in your own style. Actually, perhaps I should put it that way. Tip number 2 is to practice through your private worship. And tip number 3 is to serve. Yep, I know this could be like the biggest hurdle, right? Like, oh no, I really have to go to my worship team and I have to audition and people have to hear me play. No. Okay, you might feel that way, right? But guys, I have news for you. There is no better way to learn than to serve. Yeah. You see, there's nothing that beats, oh gosh, worship rehearsals in 48 hours. I need to sit down and start practicing, right? Because if we don't have that, we'll be like, I can always practice tomorrow. No one's going to know. It's not going to make a difference. And yeah, I'll just go and do something else. Yeah. And when we serve, we have to get to a really decent standard of playing, right? You can't I'll just play and it's okay if I make those 3 mistakes. Because you'll be like, I can't make those 3 mistakes. People are going to hear me, right? But more importantly, God's going to hear you. So you want to be as good as you can for God. So, but then, it's like when you serve, you just got to get your act together. And if I can just tell you, I think why I am at my level today was because I pretty much served for, I wish I traced it like specifically, but I know I served every year ever since I started becoming a Christian. No, I became a Christian at 16. And then I was really busy with my choir till I was 18. But I think when I was 18 plus, like almost 19, I started serving. And I remembered serving all those years for like probably 10 years. Maybe a little less, maybe 9, but maybe 8. I was just serving the whole time. I was playing on the keys and I was rostered and I just served week in and week out. And you know what, guys? That's the foundation I had. So if some of you watched my videos and you're like, oh my gosh, Sandra sounds like that. She's a genius. Well, I have news for you. It's not. Go read Malcolm Gladwell, Outliers, right? He has this concept about 10,000 hours. So basically, anyone who's a genius in something actually put in a lot of hard work for minimally, the magic number is 10,000 hours of doing something. And I'll never forget how he talked about my favorite classical composer, who is the German composer by the name of Johannes Brahms. So Brahms, well, I kind of got to know him when I was studying my A-level music. And I really like his music. I just love how he has this like penchant for all these lower sounding instruments. So he's never for the violin like everyone does, but he's all for the viola, and he likes all these alto sounding voices, right? So I really respected this this composer. And then when I found out, oh, he was featured in the book, I was like, oh, that got my attention. Turns out Brahms spent a lot of time, probably years of his life as a pretty young guy, like as a teenager, playing in a I don't even know if it's really a brothel, but he played in a pub, in a brothel in Germany for like years before he became like a famous composer. So if he had put in years, and I think if you played for years, you probably attained 10,000 hours, right? If he had that and that he became as good as he is, I think if you and I were to be thrown in those shoes, we will be good as well. So guys, if you're watching this and you're like, I want to play in a certain way, but then you haven't started serving, the answer is go serve. So today's answer to Bright Yuhukori is really 3 things, right? Number 1, listen to the music that you like and then imitate and ingrain it into yourself. Number 2, play it privately, play it as a practice, like just a technical practice, play it as a spiritual act of worship in your private worship moments. Or number 3, serve. Listen, play, serve. Listen, play, serve. Listen, play, serve. Like just do these 3 things for a period of time. Don't like, I listened, played, and served for 1 month and I am nowhere, right? You got to do it for like at least a year, at least 2 years, right? Try it. And then you are going to see a difference in the way you play. So really hope that helps. Go talk to your worship pastor. Go raise your hand and say, I want to audition. Don't wait till they recruit. Well, this was what happened. Pretty much I've been wanting to serve in my church, and I'm pretty new in this church. And I was kind of like, should I just wait for the recruitment? Because sometimes, they have like guys, in today's announcement, guys, we are looking for musicians. If you want to play, come forward and speak to whoever, right? Or fill in this form or go to this website. But instead of that, I kind of just chatted with a girl, and she was like, oh, do you want to serve? I can introduce you to the lady who's in charge of the worship team. And the next thing I know, I was talking to her and we fixed up something. And it was not during recruitment season. It was just out of nowhere. It was a normal Sunday, no recruitment drive. And I got on board. And I really think that if you want to serve, I'm very sure people will want you on the team, because most of the time churches lack manpower. So go say yes to God. Go read the passage about the servant who multiplied his talents. I think tenfold, right? Yeah, go read that passage. I will try to find it and put it in the description box below. It's so important. We need to face God one day and tell him, did we multiply the gifts he's given us? And I really believe if we do, we will really glorify God in a powerful way. And then we will also have our gifts multiplied. And before we know it, it is June 2019, and you sound completely awesome. And I can't wait to hear it. I would love for you to reply and let me know how much better you play because you took my tips today. So I really, really hope they helped. 3 tips, once again, as a quick recap: listen, play, and serve. Gotta serve, guys. Just go serve. Say yes to God. Be a blessing to your community. Say yes to your worship team. Be brave in the auditions. If you're freaked out, if you don't know how to prepare for your auditions and you want to sound good, join the Inspired Keys Academy, inspiredkeys.com/join. You can join it for 2 weeks for $1 just to try it out and see if you like it. But the best part is you can post a recording of yourself, and I will be very happy to give you specific pointers on how to improve. I'll create a video even if necessary, just to show you how you can play something better, and you can learn from that. And that's just going to help. So yeah, Inspired Keys Academy is for you guys out there. If you're like freaked out about auditions, or maybe you're in the worship team and you're like, I don't think I sound very good yet, and oh, we have a big event coming up, I'm playing for a retreat, then go post something on the Inspired Keys Academy or ask a question, and I will be answering them with priority, just like I did for today's question on Inspired Keys Academy member Bright's question. Okay, so I see a lot of things coming in from the chat. I'm just going to read that. David Franklin, woohoo! David says, hi, Sandra, USA, Maryland, woohoo! He says, amen. Paul Soladoy. Hi, Paul from Canada, Ontario. What, very cool. I want to move from playing just chords to challenge. Any advice or tips? Okay, just reading questions first. Minecraft's unknown Fortnite. Okay, very cool. Paul, hi, Paul, I come from Alaska, US. Any advice on recent parent divorce? Do I go with one of my parents, or what do I do? Oh my gosh, I'm not really sure if this is a relevant question, because we're talking all things worship keys here. Yeah, any advice on recent parent divorce? Do I go with one of my parents, or what do I do? I'm so sorry, I cannot comment because I'm not an expert in that field at all, and I am very sorry for what has happened. Oh, okay. He says my name is Paul for short. Okay, very interesting. Paulo, I do know that when I was just reading the Bible the other day, James 1:5, if anyone lacks wisdom, ask God, and he will give you generously without finding fault. So go ask God for the wisdom to know what to do in this case. Thank you, David. You got to have a pastor in the house, right? So thank you, Pastor David, for sharing. It's Matthew 25:14-30. Thank you. Using your talents and multiplying them. That's the important thing. Not to bury them under the soil, but to multiply them, right? Okay, I'm going to see if I can quickly answer Paul's question from Canada. It's so awesome having a worldwide audience, guys. I have no idea what time it is in Canada and the US, but I really appreciate you guys taking your time, especially if it's a very odd time. It's morning in Melbourne, nice and bright, and I know I'm fresh. That's why I picked this time to share and to answer these questions. But now, Paul says he wants to move from playing just chords to beautiful accompaniment with both hands. Hand independence is a challenge. Okay. Yep. So, okay, this is the sort of question where I wish I can see how you play, because based on how you play, I can really see what you can do and what you still need to learn, okay? At the moment, I will ask, how much technical work have you put in prior to this, right? So some people come in and they're like, I am a classical trained pianist for many years, but I just never play worship style. Okay, so then you probably know how to play some technical work. You might have had to play scales, arpeggios, chromatic scales, broken chords, and things like that. And you can usually have to do it on both hands and separately and hands together. So Paul, let me know if that's you. And some people come in and they're like brand new keyboardists. They don't even know how to play the piano. They don't have a piano to practice on. They are drummers or guitarists or bassists, and they just want to learn the keyboard. And that's awesome. And that's always possible for you to start somewhere. So I think what you can do is to get some technical work going, because trust me, even though it's boring playing da 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 da, right? Like, we never do that in worship keys playing. Why are we having to play scales? The thing is, the better control you have with your hands independently, whether it's playing a scale or playing an arpeggio, or broken chords, or chromatic scales and technical work like that, the better you are at controlling those things, the better control that you will also have when you play worship, right? So there are some people who play really smoothly, and you're like, wow, that riff sounds awesome. Well, that's because they probably put in all that hard work doing dotted rhythms and alternate legato and staccato scales, and yeah, all that hard work that's been put in, you just don't see it, right? The Chinese proverb, which says 台上十年功，台上一分钟，台下十年功, which also means on stage for a minute, off stage for 10 years. 10 years of hard work translates into 1 minute of a brilliant performance, right? So we put in so much time just to sound so good. So Paul, I will suggest, if you can, get your hands on to some technical work, technical workbooks, scales, go practice them. And then when it comes to piano accompaniment, that's another thing. I feel like a lot of people are asking me about piano accompaniments, and I feel like I need to create a course on that. So I think I'm going to just decide, yep, I'm going to have to do a course on it. And so stay tuned. But go see the videos that I've created and see if you could just imitate some of the accompaniment styles from there. Hand independent tips, that's really important. Go do some technical work. Make sure that whatever your right hand can do, your left hand can do. Whatever your left hand can do, your right hand can do as well. But here's the deal, guys. A lot of worship keys piano accompaniment styles don't require a lot of left hand movement. I'll say the most important thing your left hand has to do, two things. Number one, it needs to be able to play octaves. So see if you can do that. It needs to stretch out to an octave as far as possible. The reason is because the lower you go on the keyboard, the muddier the sound because of the low frequencies. I wish I can tell you from the perspective as a physics expert, but I can't, because I really did so poorly with physics, but I know it's a frequency thing. And the lower you go, the muddier, the noisier it sounds. So octaves are fantastic. I do octaves all the time. Go watch my videos. Another skill would be to be able to hold down on one note and then play something else while the other finger is holding it down. So it could be that if it's just a fifth, right? So having your pinky play something while your thumb's holding it down, or having your pinky down while your thumb's playing. Okay, so either of that, these are two very important skills. I find myself using that all the time. So let's see what else anyone says. Paul says he started learning 2 years ago. Woohoo! Joshua SB says, hey, what's up again from Nashville? Great to have you again, Josh. Philip Fentine, is very important, the aspect of service. Another day I was thinking about when I started, and now I can see the new abilities God gave me. So can you talk about how expanded chords? Ooh, gosh. Gosh, I'm so sorry. Philip, I need you to, I don't quite understand what you mean. Okay, but in the meantime, Paul says, awesome, thanks. Paul, I really hope that helped. If you need a place to start, go into the Inspired Keys Academy, because I have this entire course series on how to play major scales and how to put your chords together so that they sound good for worship. So that could answer some of your questions already. And if you are hesitant to start, always remember that I am doing a limited time dollar trial. So for $1, you can go in for 2 whole weeks and just to explore and see if you like it before you can subscribe. If you really don't think it's for you, you can cancel anytime. But if you think it's for you, then the Inspired Keys Academy is a very affordable way to start, because guys, if you hire a tutor to sit next to you and teach you how to play and give you 100% of that person's attention, you're going to be paying like, I don't know, I used to pay $70 per hour to prepare for my A-levels, and that was many years ago. So today my teacher would have charged like 90, and in the Inspired Keys Academy it's just $39 a month, and it's way less than that per month if you sign up for the annual plan. And usually, if you want to acquire a skill, guys, you just got to put in some upfront investment. And this amount of money to access all the training courses I've ever created, as well as to get your your questions answered with priority, is really, really a steal. So go check it out, inspiredkeys.com/join, and use the discount code $trial for both the monthly and the annual subscriptions. So I'm just gonna, before I go, try to answer Philippe's question. It's very important, the aspect of service. Thank you. Yes, I fully agree that serving is super important. It's gonna change the way you play compared to if you stayed at home and played at home and then you wonder why you're not getting better. It's probably because you haven't said yes to serving. Another day, a thing I was thinking about when I started, and now I can see the new abilities God gave me. Praise God for that you notice God's given you some new abilities, Philippe. So can you talk about how expanded chords? Okay, now Philippe, I need you to tell me what you mean by expand chords. Yeah, I am not sure what you mean by that. Philip, Pastor David, thank you so much for sharing that. It's a real blessing to be a member. I really, really am on my knees praying for the Inspired Keys Academy members, because I know when people join the Academy, they are trying to get from point A to point B, right? And God has given me a certain amount of ability. Not that I am at the highest peak. I'm myself definitely trying to improve and learn as I go. I have recently said yes, serving in my church, and there's so much to learn, guys. There's so much to learn. I feel like I don't even know if I've got enough skills for myself. Like, I wish I can do a lot more. And I'm learning as I talk to the guys in the church who are doing way more advanced stuff than I am. But I know that from what I currently know, I can help some people to get from point A to B and to become better worship keyboardists. And that is what I want to do. So if you feel like you need help, guys, you're watching this video, you worship keys playing, maybe you have a question to ask, maybe there's something specific you're struggling with, that's frustrating you. Maybe you're playing in a certain way that's kind of like you're stuck, it's stale, it's boring, or you're just restricted to a certain style of playing and you want to play more styles. Let me know in the Academy. Post it in our Academy members Facebook group. Post your question, post your recordings, and people will chip in and give you suggestions for improvement. I know I'm going to be giving you specific pointers on how you can improve so that you can sound even better. And you can take the Inspired Keys Academy for a spin, guys, for just $1 for 2 whole weeks. So make sure to go to inspiredkeys.com/join. Just typing it in there for good measure and use the discount code $trial. There. That's awesome, guys. I am so blessed to have you guys join us. I really appreciate the time that you've put in. I really hope that this has blessed somebody. Go to inspiredkeys.com/schedule to see when I'm coming on next. But I do know from what I already have on my calendar that I'm coming in tomorrow at 10 a.m. Melbourne time. So that would be awesome. I can't wait to meet you guys again. Tomorrow, come prepared with your worship keys question. You can also submit ahead of time. You can use my contact form on inspiredkeys.com or email me at sandra@inspiredkeys.com. And I would love to answer your questions. Okay, Philippe, sorry, it's about how to use 7th, 9th, but how organize them in worship context. Inside the Inspired Keys Academy, Philippe, I have a course about how to use advanced chords. And in a quick nutshell, I can tell you that 7th chords I highly recommend using 7th chords for all the minor chords, right? So the 3 minor chords are 2, 3, and 6. So almost all the time I play chords 2, 7 instead of 2. 3/7 instead of chord 3, and 6/7 instead of chord 6. Just because when you add that 7, it just sounds so much better. And actually, if you analyze how Hillsong does it, how Bethel does it, and if you listen carefully, most of the time, their minor chords have a 7th added inside. It just makes the minor sound a little bit more major. The 7th makes the top 3 notes of the 4-note chord a major chord, right? So you have a minor and a major chord kind of compiled together, and that just sounds good. So Philippe, I will say use 7th chords for minor chords. As for major chords, I would not always use them because they have a very jazzy feel to it. So if you have, it really depends on the style of worship in your church, guys. If you serve in a very gospel kind of context, then people are just throwing in 13s and 11s and very, very advanced chords all the time. And so, yes, 7s and 9s are just a little tiny part of the whole pie, right? But then if you serve in a very conservative, that's more contemporary pop style, we're talking more like Bethel or Hillsong, Planet Shakers kind of style, then 7th and 9th chords are not used all the time. You can sort of throw in one every now and then just to explore the different colors. It adds to the palette, but then I will say use your discretion. A lot of it is about using your discretion. At the same time, I will encourage you to experiment. So don't like, oh, Sandra said don't use it. Go try it. Try and put it in and see if you like it. See if it helps people to play, to worship better. Remember, guys, that we have a job, right? Our job is not to sound good. Our job is not to sound like awesome because we want to look good. Our awesome is to sound good so that people can worship God, right? If we sound good in a way that distracts people from worship God, we have not done our jobs, right? So if you get off a service and people go, oh my gosh, you played so nicely, I just kept listening to you that I couldn't worship God, that's kind of like, oops, right? Like that's not attaining the purpose that we were meant to be. We were supposed to be helping people focus on God. Well, sometimes it's not like within your control, right? People can just do whatever they want. They could choose to focus on God if they wish. If they want, they can also just choose to focus on you. So you don't really want to let that kind of like destroy your day. But remember that, hey, before we play, whether we use 7th chords or 9th chords, of which I will encourage you to experiment, decide and see if that's going to help people worship God or not. And if it will help your congregation, use it. If you're comfortable with it and you know how to use it, especially I will say when you use chords that are advanced like that, you don't really want to use them in a pile of thirds like do, mi, so, ti, re, right? You probably won't want to play all 3 like that. You want to spread out some of the notes to a higher register so that everything's kind of spread out and the voicing's more open than closed. Right? If you know how to use it and you know how to make it good and it sounds appropriate for the songs that you guys serve, I'm not sure what kind of songs you guys sing in, let's see, in Brazil. That's right. Yep. In Brazil, maybe some of the songs are appropriate for 13ths and 9s and stuff like that. So go listen to how the original recordings do it. Most people will be very comfortable hearing the same version that was used in recordings. So if you want to play a Hillsong song, then try to imitate it as close to Hillsong as possible, deviate from it a little bit where necessary for the sake of interest. But if you want to stay safe, then do it as close to the recordings as possible. So guys, I think I will call it a day today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I would love to see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Melbourne time, and I will be answering more questions on worship keys. I look forward to you joining the Inspired Keys Academy because I am always wanting to see how I can help even more people, and also be on the lookout for a piano accompaniment course because I think think lots and lots of people have been asking for it recently, and it's about time for me to create something. And that's the cool thing. If you join the academy, you can request for courses that are not already inside so that I could create something that will be a blessing to you, that will meet your needs. So it's a constant communication. You don't just join the academy and kind of like learn on your own. You have the coaching and the guiding, and you can ask questions and you can get support. So once again, guys, before I go to inspiredkeys.com/join, go put in the $1 trial discount code so that you can try it out for yourself 2 whole weeks for $1 and decide if you like it. Go check out the courses. All the courses I've created, so many of them, brand new courses like the very basic main stage course, a complete version of it so you can see exactly how I use those software to create some awesome worship sounds. Also, the 100 chord progression identification exercises, guys. There are 100 chord progressions for you to work through so that you can listen to those chords, figure out what chords they are between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, because there are really just 6 chords used in worship, and become good in playing by ear, right? Like that's the whole point. We want to be able to look away from the chord sheets and start using our ears only. So go work on that, guys. Once you go into the academy, you can access all of these courses. David says, thanks again. My wife, Althea, is your biggest fan. Hello from her. Oh my gosh, Althea, it's awesome having you. I'm so, so, so blessed by the both of you, David and Althea. Thank you so much for your support. You know what, Althea, go ahead and post even your playing, if you wish, in the Academy Facebook group. I would love to hear both you and David play. And at some point, I really, really want to hear you guys. So thank you so much. I'm going to sign off. I'm going to go answer some more questions from inside the academy and create some courses now, because that's what God is calling me to do. And I look forward to speaking with you tomorrow at our next live teaching session. Big hugs and love to you all, and see you all tomorrow. Bye.